Welcome back to the Yoga Chat. I'm your host, Montana.
I'm your host, May.
And today I'm your host, May. How excited is she? I'm your host, May. You just sounded like an Adam Sandler
I
character.
know I didn't sound like myself. I don't know where that came from.
Well,
Um,
it's taken May a few podcasts to even get comfortable with saying I'm your host, May. So now
Exactly.
are
with
you
that,
comfortable? Yeah, now you're so
I guess
comfortable,
I'm
you're
comfortable.
using a different voice.
I've decided to stop being timid because I'm never timid anywhere else. So why would I do it now?
That's so
So maybe that's
funny.
why my introduction was so hello,
Hello,
very
I'm
Larry David.
May. You sounded like if Denim had a voice. Hello, I'm May. My name Denim.
All right.
All right. So, welcome. Our guest today is we're so excited about, and we've also put this man through the ringer to try to get him on here. And he like really we're kind of forcing him to be here. And so the fact that we're forcing him to be here and that we rescheduled probably 17 times, I'm very excited about. So, and thank you for being flexible, pun intended. All right. So today's guest is the one and only Scott Ritter, also known as AKA
Uncle Scott.
Uncle Scott. He's been practicing yoga on and off for a few years, more consistently recently. He is originally from Ohio, but lives in Tampa, Florida now. And a fun fact about him is that for a short time, he held the Guinness Book of World Record, or was in the Guinness Book of World Record for musical chairs in the year of 1982. Oh, yeah.
that, oh yeah, my
So
15 minutes of fame.
And you
how
have
do you
your
get into
book.
the Guinness Book of World Records for musical chairs?
Well, first of all, let's start off this because I've listened to so many of these podcasts. I've got to start
Oh
off
yeah.
first by saying, hey, Barb, this is for you. I'm excited that you're listening in, and you're not going to get as much out of this podcast as you normally get from all the other of the podcasts that May and Montana
Not true.
host. But Montana's mom, Barb, hello.
We've never
She's
had
going
a
to be
Guinness
so
Book of
happy.
World Records person, so maybe she's going to get more out of this one.
I
You never know.
even without saying that, I know that this is going to be one of my mom's favorites because I just know. I just know. So Barb, buckle up, baby.
Buckle up, Barb.
But yeah, how did you
Oh,
gain
wait.
that title?
Also,
Well,
real quick,
sure.
sorry, your sun sign, your astrological sign, we have to start there. I'm getting ahead of
We
ourselves.
can. Do you want to take a guess?
I know you're rising.
Um,
Yes,
I've
you
only
do.
met you a few times, but I would say that you might be a Gemini because you seem curious to try new things and willing to, and like just, you have a playful spirit, or you wouldn't be going to yoga retreats, showing up for yell yoga and weird movement that, like, I'm sorry, most people would feel really timid to do that. And I think it's awesome when people are willing to just like get weird. So I'm going to vote Gemini because I'm a Gemini and I like
I
them.
vote sun sign Taurus.
Bingo.
Really?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Ooh.
Yep. Sun sign Taurus. My moon is Capricorn, and my rising is Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
All right.
And your rising is Sagittarius, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, my sun is Sagittarius. Me and May are both
Oh,
rising
gotcha.
Scorpios. Yes, because
Gotcha.
so that's a good segue. And then I promise we'll get back to world record. But so Uncle Scott is Catherine Geniac's Uncle Scott. And he came
True.
on one of her retreats to, and if you haven't listened to episode number 4, I think it is 3 or 4, that's Catherine's episode. We talk a lot about her. So if you know, you know. So Uncle Scott came on a retreat in Tulum on one of the retreats this February. And Catherine's like, I'm so excited. Like, this is my first family member, I think first family member that's been on a
True.
retreat. And she's like, and she calls him Scott. Like he is her uncle and she calls him Scott. And I just like couldn't not say Uncle Scott. And I just kept referring to him to his face and not to his face as Uncle Scott. And finally I was like, is it okay that I'm calling you Uncle Scott? And he's like, yes, it's okay. So after the first class that week, Catherine had us like play this like quote game where she's like, go to this side of the room if you're this, go to this side of the room if you're this. So she's like, Swifties, go to this side, non-Swifties, go to this side. She was like, if you've been on a retreat with me, go on this side. If this is your first time, go on this side. And then she goes, if you're an introvert, go on this side. If you're an extrovert, go on this side. And me and Uncle Scott ran out of the room. And, and Catherine's like looking at, she's like, what are you guys doing? And I like, we're literally outside and I have like my hands on the rail. I'm like shaking my ass at her. And I was like, we're just this extroverted. We couldn't go far
Exactly.
enough. And so I was like, oh, you too?
Extrovert.
And so I was like, great. So happy that you're letting me call you Uncle Scott. So that's our introduction for Uncle Scott. And then May got to meet him when he was visiting Catherine in Pittsburgh. So
At the Maverick.
yes, the
Yeah.
Maverick Hotel. Yeah, so Uncle Scott's a whole vibe, and we're so excited to have you here. And you're too humble. This is going to be an amazing episode. Most of the time, people that like show up and they're like, I don't know what I have to offer. Like I've done yoga once, end up being like the best episodes. So, no offense to any of you yoga gurus, you're all great too.
Well, I will tell you this, that even though I have no idea what I'm doing with my sun, moon, and rising, but I've been gifted this book.
Wow, you were born for this?
Yes.
Oh, the
And
Channy book.
the Channy book. And I follow the Channy dealio on my app. And
See,
I still can't really grasp the whole thing, but I'm trying my best.
I mean, it's a
So
lot.
no, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm not that far into it. About as far into this. No, I'm deeper into yoga than I am this for sure. But I read my little daily Scotch, your day is, made of this and that type of stuff. And reading my pivot year daily
You go.
affirmation
Mine's
booklet
over there.
and journaling and doing all the things. Oh, wait a minute. I'm probably jumping way far ahead.
No,
We
no,
need to get
no,
back
you're
to
not.
May's
No, you're
question.
good.
Wait, first, while you're on your telling everyone about all these beautiful things you're doing, can you tell us about your orchid? Because that was a great story that you told before we started recording. So I want our listeners to hear.
Well, because I wanted to come out here a place of peacefulness, or what at least comes across that way compared to where I work on a daily basis in my little home office. My orchid has made me very, very happy. And this orchid that I've been, threatened the orchid last year to throw it away because it only gave me 5 flowers and it was just poo-pooing, doing what it should do. So I kind of changed some things over with my way I'm going to care for it and talk to it. I changed my tone to my orchid and changed a little bit of a watering habit. And it gave me 2 days ago, was the last flower that opened, was 28 flowers. So I was super pumped and it's happy and I'm happy. And I don't really post a lot on Facebook. So when I did post on Facebook with this one, put a couple of things, just a happy Sunday, whatever it was. And my side by side of where it started and where it ended. And one of my old neighbors that moved away, she lives about a couple hours away, she and her family, she posted a picture congratulating me on my orchid, but then posted her orchid, which I stopped counting it over 60 flowers. I was just like, oh, you've got to be kidding. Now I'm mad at my orchid again. I mean, come on, step your game up, dude. I mean, I'm trying.
No, that orchid is beautiful, and I've
It
never
is.
been able to keep one alive longer than a month.
Me
So
neither.
keep talking nice to it because
I
the
am.
66 flower lady, I'm sure maybe she's giving it steroids or something, but yours is beautiful.
That was the funny thing because I was asking, give me some hints for next growing season. She's like, I'm afraid to even touch it. She said, I just water it and I just leave it alone. It just keeps on coming. So it must just be in that beautiful, perfect
Perfect climate, yeah.
spot, right? Humidity and sunshine or lack thereof, and just enough water. So
And if
anyway,
anybody who
She's very
can't see,
happy.
Uncle Scott's sitting by a pool right now, and there's palm trees in the background, and and there's a golden retriever.
2.
This is just
I've got
an
one. The other one will
an
poke
ideal
his nose in
backdrop
here.
here. What are
Yeah.
your dog's names?
Archie and Griffin. And only people Archie and Griffin can be any way you look at it. But since I'm originally from Ohio, and when I was going to Ohio State football games, Archie Griffin, the Heisman Trophy college football player, I always knew after my first 2 retrievers,
So
and
cute.
that's Griffin there.
Hey Griffin, what's up,
Oh
bro?
my goodness.
He's so
Uh,
cute.
my first two were two males that were from um, movies, and it was Baxter in Blue from oh shoot, I can't think of the two movies' names, which is now going to drive me nuts because I didn't think I was even going to go
You're
there.
not talking about Blue from Old School, are you?
Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I love that you named your dog after that character.
yes, for sure. And then Baxter from Ron Burgundy from
Anchorman.
Anchorman.
Anchorman. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I'm losing my mind.
So
But
you're
yeah,
a Will
that's
Ferrell guy.
yeah.
That's
He brings
amazing.
me he brings me a few laughs from time to time.
I
Oh,
love that
always.
we've already talked about Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler, and we've already talked about orchids and the Channy app and Pivot Ear because I feel like we're really balancing our masculine and feminine energies right now, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
digging it.
so let's rewind back to May's question. How do
Yeah.
you acquire a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records?
I was lucky enough to attend the Ohio State University for a short period of time, and I had a
The Ohio
roommate,
State.
the Ohio State University, and I had a roommate that had bought a ticket for the musical chairs contest, and they were trying to break the world record. And in the center of campus is a place called the Oval, and it's huge and a lot of crisscrossy sidewalks. And he could not make it because he had to go to work. And so I took his ticket and went just to hang out and listen to music and play musical chairs for as long as I could play. And I think the whole thing, if I remember correctly, probably 3 hours or so of musical chairs, and just how the standard game is, if you've ever played it, they keep pulling a chair out, and it was in groups, right? There was like groups of 50 all over this huge oval, and there was, I can't even remember the number now. Hold on a second. Now I'm mad that I don't tell you the number off the top of my head. 4,514 people.
Oh my God.
And it got to the point where I was wearing a watch at that point in time that had a second hand on it. And well, which is because I don't think there was even digital watches back then. There might have been, but but the DJ that was stopping the music stopped it about every 30 seconds. And consistently, I mean, he is just like, he must have been on a timer, stop the music 30 seconds. So I was like, well, this guy keeps stopping at 30 seconds. I'm going to stay in this game for a long time because I'm not fooling around, because there's a prize of a pizza a week for a year and a trophy. And I'm like, if I can get a free pizza a week as a college student, I'd be the most popular guy on
bold.
campus. Bold
Gold.
is right. So sure enough, the guy never stopped. Every 30 seconds, he turned the music off. I sat down, boom, 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 boom. That's all 27, 28, 29 seconds. I'd be already leaning in or sliding underneath you. And I got up on the main stage with 20 people left. And the guy still didn't stop. So I just kept on glancing at my watch. It was me and a upperclassman female down to one chair, and I rudely took her spot and won a pizza a year for a pizza a week for a year, and a
And
big tall trophy.
is your picture in that book?
It's not in the book. No, no. I think that the year it was published, it was right beside, and this name's not going to mean anything to anybody unless they're my age, was the supermodel Cheryl Tiegs. For some reason, Cheryl Tiegs was in the Guinness Book of World Records. I don't know the reason why, but I was opposite of her. So
That's
not
pretty
deserving
cool.
of a picture. But they also then got me a trip up to New York City. They wanted me to be on Johnny Carson and then also compete in Flushing Meadows was going to try to beat our record, which they didn't get close, and was ready to go to Johnny Carson's show. And then I got bumped right at the last minute for two people that got married in the back of like a garbage can or garbage truck.
Oh
That
my
they had fallen.
God.
So I was like, wait a minute. So, but I had a good time, and it was more than 15 minutes of fame because I got a free trip to New York City too and got to do all the things. But yeah, that's my claim to fame.
Pretty cool.
That
That's
is really
pretty
cool.
unique.
Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't believe out of 4,000 people, you were the only one to figure out that this man was stopping the music every 30 seconds.
and my mind doesn't even work that way normally, but for some
Yeah.
reason, when I thought this pizza
I was
is,
gonna say
I'm dying for this
competitive.
thing. I kept on looking. I was just like, wait a minute, this guy is not bringing, it's not a 7-second thing. It's every 30 seconds. So yeah, I don't know. Just got lucky, I guess.
That's amazing. Lucky for awareness, right?
Well,
Awareness.
the one thing that's never changed over the course of the years is college students can be bribed with food in
Uh-huh.
any capacity
Yeah,
because
amen.
it just, yeah, pizza is king always.
I think I
Yeah,
can be bribed for food to this day.
Yeah,
same,
that's true. Same.
But yeah,
same.
definitely a college kid that has no money to spend.
It was,
Right.
yeah, then it was just like straight desperation. It was like, I need this. Or I remember when my mom came at the end of my last year of school, um, my mom came and in my fridge was apple cider vinegar lemonade that I had made that was foul, um, Greek yogurt, and a half gallon of Smirnoff. And she was like, Montana, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Why?
Everything's great. Everything's
And
great.
I'll
Never even
never
better.
forget that. And yeah, Matt, I had just met Matt and he came over and thought that in the apple cider vinegar lemonade, thought it was iced tea, poured a big glass of it, chugged it, spit it right out, probably puked. And he still tells that story too. So I'll never forget those desperate college years. I would have done anything for a pizza once a week.
Absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely.
All right, so shifting gears to yoga, Uncle Scott, can you tell us a little bit? I mean, not necessarily to yoga per se, but can you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from and your background, and then ultimately how that led you to practicing yoga as consistently or inconsistently as you have and do?
Are you sure about this?
Mhm.
So, from a small town, um, up in Ohio, Midwest, um, and ended up just being as part of an entrepreneurial family, meaning my father and his brother, my uncle, were always in business together. And after my stint at Ohio State, I decided to join the family business and just stayed in Ohio, and still to this day do exactly what I did when I got out of school, which is I am in the packaging business. So, and I told you I brought props, so I'm going to show you. I do things like I make shopping bags like this. Here's a customer in New York that I do a piece for the holidays.
Fun.
You design
Um,
these?
I'm not the designer by any means. I just get it. I get the customer from point A to the delivery. All right. Now I'm
Got
working
it.
on this box.
Wow.
This is a
Whoa.
candy box that slides and has magnets. And then inside it is, even though I've eaten all the candy already, a tray that holds the candy. So I do
Fancy.
so anytime you're buying anything at brick and mortar and it's in a box or it goes out in a bag, they come from people like me. So I've been doing that all my life. Um, and that did nothing for me for yoga. Not at all. So not a gym rat, never have been. And I like to exercise. I like to play sports. I'll shoot baskets. I'll throw the baseball. I'll play tennis. I'll do any of those, but have never been a gym rat to go lift weights or jump on a treadmill or anything of that nature. Just not my scene. And ride bikes for cardio so I can be outside, especially down here in Florida where I can ride, 12 months out of the year with no issue. So yoga, I've never done it until my youngest son, I've got two boys. My youngest son was graduating from college down here, and we got everybody, as many people as we could, to come for his college graduation. And we were on the beach, that everybody does when you live in Florida. And Catherine, my niece, Catherine Geniak, CG, however we want to call her, she led, and I don't think she even remembers this, a small, just introductory yoga. This is probably not, it had to be about 9 years ago. nothing, not an hour-long thing, just a few poses, just a couple of things, getting your body moving, which the next day I already felt it, right? So it was just like, that's an interesting feeling, but I did zero with it, zero. Always, I've had a really, really tight relationship with Catherine over the years. So I've watched her grow as a businesswoman, a human being, my niece, and started to watch her progress in her practice, but it still didn't do anything for me. I mean, it just literally didn't push me to go find a studio. But I did. I made an effort to. I didn't buy a mat yet. Didn't buy blocks. Didn't know anything about that. And I'd go into my class or my yoga studio down here, and it's all competition for me. You know, I'd walk in there, size everybody up. Here comes a guy that's 10 years older than I am. I'm like, this guy can do it. I sure as hell can do it. And this guy's doing headstands, handstands, one-handed this, one-handed. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with me? I just, and still to this, not to this day, but now I have a better understanding, but it was all competition to me. I needed to get through this and make sure that I can keep up with everybody else in there, which I couldn't keep up with anybody. And now that I understand it's not about keeping up, it's about staying present in your own practice. I get it now, but I didn't then. And it took me a while because I kept on going back. I tried hot yoga, and I felt the benefits from it, but it's all about, I can't do that and I'm mad, and really made me step away from it and not really embrace it and try to make it a daily, or let's say multiple times a week practice. It still did. And I may miss a detail here or there, but pandemic happens, closes the closest yoga studio that I have. I see the direction that Catherine's going with retreats and that type of stuff. And I'm immediately like, look, I want to be a part of it. I just love her energy. So how do I sign up? Well, she wouldn't let me sign up. Sucked. I was like, well, what do you mean? Is everybody else asking? Nobody else is asking, meaning family members. Okay, well, why can't I? She said, well, I need to get my feet underneath me, you know, and one of these days I'll let you know that it's okay to start and or to join one of the retreats. So I ended up talking to a friend of mine, and they said, you know what, you should probably take my Peloton login, because I'm not using it, and take some beginner classes and see if you're serious about it any more than you are currently, as you're just competitive. And so I started doing that, and actually listening to the beginner teacher, which if any of you have ever taken a Peloton yoga class, there's a guy named Ross. And whatever it is about Ross, he and I connected immediately, because he was explaining what he was doing, telling me what I should and shouldn't be doing, how there are, you know, I'm going to say alternatives, not alternatives to the pose if you can't do the pose. What's the word? Modifications. Thank you very much. And so I started to just gel with him, and then to the point where I was like, you know, I think I probably need to buy a mat, because I was just doing it on the carpet, right? And or outside here, and just 20-minute sessions, and then would build it up to 30 minutes, and still all beginner stuff. And I don't know exactly, must have been probably about this time last year, I think. I went up to see Catherine up in Pittsburgh to help her with a couple small little mini projects, and just to hang out. And we had a very, very great time and great connective weekend. To the point where I was like, look, I would really like, you know, I watched you up at Times Square when you did your Times Square thing. And I really think I want to take that next step into trying to develop a consistent practice. And I guess the squeaky wheel got the grease because she allowed me to sign up for, she allowed me to either come to her last Iceland trip or the Tulum trip. And I selected Tulum because I was like, I don't know if I want to be out there if it's snowing and a blizzard, or if what, I want to be somewhere where it's paradise in case I really suck and she kicks me out, then I can go sit on the beach, right? So, but I knew I wasn't going to do that. I knew if I was doing it, I was going to be all in. And we had such a good weekend to the point where we talked about, not just yoga, but life's journeys. And we talked about public crying in the middle of a yoga class. And I'm looking at her like, what? I'm just trying to put my arms around all this kind of stuff. But she allowed me to sign up, right? So when the sign up came, which wasn't going to be for another month or two. So with that being said, I thought, well, I better continue to step in and try to work this practice, if you will. And I went up to see my mom up in Ohio, and this public crying thing is going to come into play here in a moment. And my mom goes to this little massage studio that's both a massage and also the owner has yoga and massage both, and multiple yoga teachers in there. Small, maximum probably holds 15 people. So it's intimate. So I looked on their little list and there was only one available opening while I was there that weekend. So I signed up, not knowing what I was signing up for. Didn't care. Just wanted stepping in. Let's go. Because I know in January, 1st of February, whenever it was, when Tulum was, I need to be ready. So this is going to be my first back into a class, and went in, and it was a restorative yoga class, which I had never heard of, had zero idea what to expect, but was going to be there and was all in. Start doing the restorative yoga class and listening to the readings that the teacher was actually speaking or reading, which to me was sticking. I was hearing the words for the first time ever, because any of the other yoga classes, whatever you were barking out at me, I wasn't paying attention. I was just trying to make sure I was in the right spot with my body in the right position so I didn't fall over and embarrass myself. So I'm sitting there, and we're towards the end of the 5 or 6 poses that we did through the entire class. And then they bring around the singing bowls and did the whole singing bowl thing. And if nobody's ever experienced one of those singing bowl sessions, speaking about moving, between the singing bowl and what the teacher was saying at the time, I'm literally just, it's all coming out. And I'm like, I'm from a family that doesn't show their emotions. So it's just like, what in the hell is going on here? And it just was, it was really an eye-opening, heart-opening, emotional step that got me what I thought was pretty prepared for what I believe was going to happen in a week-long retreat down in Tulum. So let me take a breath, because all I do is talk, and I will just continue to just absorb all your time. And I know we're time limited, so
No,
I
this
don't
is
want
good.
Yeah, thank you.
I like that it took you a private Ross Rayburn class in your living room to listen to the words and connect and like not worry about what was around you so you could focus more on yourself. And I feel like maybe that was like, you know, the distractions were taken away. So you were able to just focus on what this person was saying, on what you were doing. And then that kind of like was the bridge into you showing up in person and being able to actually be present. And like you said, like, I think a lot of people come to class and the words bounce right off of them because they're more concerned about how they look
Mhm.
and what it's supposed to look like, that they're not actually hearing the words. And it's interesting that you said when you could finally hear the words, it really stuck and it landed. And that was as much the teacher as it was you being there in a more vulnerable capacity and like willing to hear it. Um, and it's funny you mentioned the singing bowls because just over the weekend, one of the teachers at our studio, Phoebe, and I taught a yoga nidra, and she had her crystal singing bowls, and I had experienced it one other time, um, and I don't know if it was just that she played them in a different way, but I was like blown away. I was listening because there was a part where she was just playing the bowls, and there was a part where I was just talking, and then there was another part where she was just playing the bowls. And when she was playing the bowls, I was laying there listening to it, and I was like transported into another place. But I just had that experience myself, and it really is. It's something that, as woo woo as you might think it sounds to hear singing bowls, it is something that everybody should experience at least once. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sound
definitely.
baths are the best. I have a
Yeah,
question. So
go.
since it's very, very normal and I can relate in my own way about or to starting yoga and it being like performative and competitive at first. So for me, sometimes that like mentality will pop up still, and I'll catch myself and be like hee and like giggle and be like, you're ridiculous, put your knees down in chaturanga, like nobody's paying attention to you. Did those feelings and does that mentality ever come back up in your practice now? And if so, like how do you respond to it and like make a choice to let that go and remember, like you said, to just be in be in your own body and present in the practice?
So my competitive nature is still there. And I don't know that I have that switch. I think I have a little bit of a dimmer switch that I can turn it down a little bit, but being around rock stars like you, for instance, that I've had the chance to actually stand beside and practice beside a couple of different times and in the same room and an eye shot of somebody that is just completely into her moment, your moment, and living it and double time. And I'm just like, holy shit. So it's still, but then I realize I'm going to have a heart attack if I try to keep up with Montana's double time or triple time. So I just need to turn my dimmer switch down a little bit. But do I ratchet it up because I'm like, this feels good and I like what my body is telling me,
Yeah.
which is still the competitive nature of me feeding off of you or someone else in the room. So I literally haven't really been in it long enough consistently to just say, okay, I don't care who's here. This is just, and this is the mood I'm in. I haven't come in there coming into a class because the majority of mine are here at my house. I still have not found a studio, even though there's studios I could go to. I found it, and I have not made it a habit to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I made it a habit to invest in me on a retreat or two. The Ohio retreat, there's room and I'm in. So
Yeah.
I'm coming up for that. But
Which one are you going on? September
uh
or I mean August?
I think
yeah,
May. Oh,
no, the
August.
May one.
May.
The May
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll be on the August one. Bummer.
I think that's already sold out, I think. So,
Oh.
but if there's any openings, look, you never know. You may
To
see
come
them.
again. Yes.
Yeah. So I with what you're saying right now, because I'm not years into it, really into it. And when I'm home, I'm just in my deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing traditional yoga. Um, but when I'm in what I've been able to witness and enjoy, it's still that competitive nature in me, and I want to do much more than my body is really wants me to do and tells
Yeah.
me I shouldn't be doing. And to the point where I haven't done any yoga for about 3 weeks because I was doing something that I knew my body shouldn't be doing here. I did it anyway, and I like hyperextended my elbow. So I'm about ready to get back. Probably next week I'll be good to go to get back, right? But that was my own fault. I knew what's weak on my body and what isn't, and I shouldn't be doing what he's showing me, because I left Ross for a little bit and went to Dennis, and Dennis was doing a couple things that I shouldn't be doing, but I
He's just
tried
so
anyway.
handsome though that you can't not listen to
Isn't he?
Dennis.
Isn't he? No, he is. The dude is handsome.
And his
He
voice
is.
is like butter. He's
Oh,
ridiculous.
I know. When I found him, I was like, oh God, this guy. Yeah, you're 100% right, man. 100% right.
Yeah.
Big crush on Dennis. Although I took one of his cycle classes and it was the Ludacris. No, was it Ludacris or Outcast? He rapped the whole time, and he wasn't really doing it very well, and my crush kind of died that day a little bit. So I've taken a break on Dennis, but he's still the handsomest
I
man.
do Dennis's strength training, and he
Okay,
does a 20 or 30 minute run DMC dealio. I think that it
same
might have been
deal.
same track, right?
Like you're humbling yourself, sir. I think what you just explained too is just like I've a few thoughts in terms of just a good reminder for anyone that does yoga that it's always going to be an ebb and a flow. And we talk about this a lot, but specifically, like you're not always going to hear what the teacher's saying and be able to say like, no, this is what my body needs today.
Mhm.
At least for me. So like I've been doing this for over a decade, and it's still like it's really challenging for me to be like, okay, I'm not gonna go balls to the wall because that's not what I need. And like even Catherine had a pop-up class this past Sunday, and Presley and I were trying to double time, and she was like, stop. She's like, stop. She's like, the whole theme was like to be more intentional. And she was like, I know. And then of course, like once we like, finished the jump or the burpees and we were like holding our hearts, she was like, I know that I can go on a walk and text my dad and prepare in my mind what I'm going to have for dinner that night and be on a meeting all at the same time. I know I can do that. But like, should I do that? Is that actually healthy? Am I being more productive by doing that? Or am I just being less present by doing that? So, like my point here is that like, I don't know if down the road for people that are just like, I don't want to use the word hyper, but that's how I feel for myself, like hyper by nature and just like tightly wound, like it's always a challenge. I don't foresee it ever not being a challenge for me to like remind myself to just like take it easy. It's like it's cool. That's why I'm just now realizing how important restorative yoga is and how badly I need it. And I still don't do it far enough. But when I do it, I'm like, when there's no option to go balls to the wall, my
Right.
nervous system is like,
Yeah.
wow, thank you.
I think that's why I love teaching restore as much as I love teaching sculpt and flow, because I'm wired like you where I like to go balls to the wall. I'm built like for intensity. I get on the Peloton, and if I'm like, you see everybody's names in the same ride as you, if there's someone like in their 20s and me and them are like neck and neck the whole ride, I will literally die of a heart attack to beat the person in their 20s just because they're younger than me and I have to. It's gotten better with the yoga stuff, and now I can put my knee down in my crescent twist in Y6 hot and not feel bad about it. But it's still always that like that fight internally of I want to always go hardest, but I also know that it's not always serving me. So yeah, like I can relate. We all can relate,
And
obviously. You want to go hard,
I think both of
but
those
when there's
things
no
are
option to
good.
do it, it's great because it's
Yeah, I
like
think I think both of those things are good. Like there's nothing
right,
wrong with, because I that truly does bring me joy. Like I love to like that's why I'm running a second half marathon because I'm a glutton for punishment. Like
yeah.
I don't doesn't feel good in my body. I'm gonna like no, running 13 miles does not feel good. Why am I doing it though? Because like mentally when it's over, I'm like, fuck yes, you are a queen. You're amazing. This is great. And but my body hurts like hell. So balancing again, ooh, kind of like I said this earlier, balancing those masculine and feminine energies is where it's at. So like if we tend to be more on the fiery side and the masculine side, like it's not wrong to do those things or to feel competitive or to want to go balls to the wall, but it's like remembering to also honor that like watery, soft, cooling, restorative, feminine side as well, which maybe doesn't come as natural, but is still just as needed and beneficial. We should
I
all
think
go take
humans
Restore tonight.
wired to achieve and to set goals and to move forward. So in a way, I think that sometimes it's like against it, to just be stagnant feels wrong or something. Not
Mhm.
that taking modifications in yoga means you're stagnant, but people even now, just everybody's wired to move and to achieve and check their emails and check things off of to-do lists. Like we're always moving, we're always going. So it's like even harder to make yourself slow down and take the option that's like less intense.
Mhm.
So that's definitely a battle that I've been fighting. But I like what you said about when you're in restore, there's no option to go hard. You're forced to just take the slow option, and that's like when the magic happens because it's
Mhm.
like I'm not arguing with myself right now about what choice I should take because my only choice is to lay here and let this person tell me beautiful things.
And
And
doesn't it
that's
feel
like,
great?
oh, it does.
Yeah,
Oh, it
and
does.
that was my only restorative, and I need to look because I'm going up to see my mom this weekend, and I'm gonna hopefully see if there's a restorative yoga because that was the only one I ever did, and it really helped, jump me into
Yeah.
that being present as I mentioned, not to be repetitive, but so I'd like to do another one because that first one was amazing.
Yeah. A
I'm
release.
glad you had that experience.
Me too.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that comes to mind in terms of like something I'd like to point out in your story to our listeners is that like if there's anyone listening that is toying with the idea of like, okay, I've been listening to this and I'm kind of interested in starting yoga, but like I have no desire to go to a studio and try it out. Like that's too far. There is a happy medium. Like you can do online yoga in the comfort and safety of your own home. And then I think what you mentioned too, Uncle Scott, is that like when you're not surrounded by other people and like you're just trying so hard to like not fall over, you can actually hear what the teacher on the video or online is saying, and then you can
Mm.
actually like feel it in your body and try to figure out what feels right without having to like be scared about if you're going to stumble and fall, because if you do, nobody knows.
And that's when I invested in my mat and my blocks and stuff, listening to Ross, and he was the only one I was paying attention to, literally, because if you would call out different poses, I might remember a few of them, but it's because I haven't done it for 10 years, right? And he'd explain, where your feet need to be. And I bought a mat that had these lines on it and things of this nature. So I knew that my heel was, lined up. So I knew that my hips were right. But he also, and I don't know if they're all like this, but this guy actually explains them and tells you what, you should or shouldn't be feeling when you're twisting this way. And if you are feeling this, then you're doing it wrong type of thing, and try this. And it, I got so much out of him
Mhm.
because he is, I guess I'll say, gentle in explaining what each one of these, at least on the beginner side of things. I'm assuming he does all levels. I'm no expert by any means. I'm in intermediate stuff, but in his intermediate stuff, he explains it. But at the beginner level, he really, really is really good at explaining all that stuff, and which helped me because I didn't know jack shit. I was just help me out. Let me get going. And so yeah, it works. It worked well for me.
It's nice to like hear them explain the why behind everything.
Yes,
So you can understand what's going on in your body. It makes more sense instead of just somebody barking pose names at you and you
right.
standing there and doing it. When somebody says, if you move your foot this way, this is going to happen, then you're learning about your body. You're learning about
Right.
your yoga practice. It's like creating a sense of understanding that connects you further to the way your body is moving instead of just standing there trying to look a certain way. You understand why things are supposed to move in certain ways. So I agree. Like I like to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And Montana has always been big on that. Is just like you can tell people five different options on how to be in one pose, or you can tell them how to be in the pose and explain what is going to happen if they take each of those options so they have like the autonomy over their body to decide what they want to feel. Like if you want more heat or more intensity, do this. If you want to feel a little less, do this. And I think that makes people come to a deeper understanding of what their body is doing. So go Montana.
And the reminder of the
Explain the
empowerment
why.
aspect of like,
Yeah.
whether you're able to or not able to doesn't matter. As soon as someone has the choice to do something and they're making the choice, then the chances of them getting in their head of like, fuck, I suck, or I can't do it, or I'm not doing it the best, blah, 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 simmers a little bit, because it's not that like I can't do the harder version. It's that I don't want to build more heat right now.
Bingo.
And that's like empowerment in
Huge.
itself. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's the juice. That is the juice.
I have a
It's not about,
question. Wait, go ahead, May.
yeah. I was going to say, it's not about whether you're capable or strong enough. It's about whether this is working for you in this moment. You can be strong enough to lift a house over your head, but maybe that
Mhm.
day you don't fucking want to. So it's when you give people the why, it's less about this is the advanced option that you're going to take if you're really good at this and the best, or you're going to take this if you want heat. You're going to take this if you want less heat. It's a nice way to explain it rather than saying for the most advanced option for those of you that are good enough. And, it makes a big difference in a group class for how people get to decide what they do. Go ahead. Sorry.
I
Cut
think
you off.
too, that made me think of it. I think too that's like that practice can be utilized off of the mat also. It's like reminding
Mhm.
people that they have the power and the autonomy to make choices in their life. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Of course, things are going to happen that are out of your control. And of course, like you're going to be dealt the cards that you're dealt. But what you do with those external, out of control, or situations that are out of your control, or how you play the cards that you're dealt, like there's always a choice there. You're not always necessarily going to like the choices that you have to choose from, but you always have a choice, whether that's to like add more fire in your yoga practice or freaking, I don't know, clean your
Dump
house
your
a
shitty
certain way.
boyfriend.
I don't know. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
be your shitty boyfriend. Exactly. Okay, I do have a question. So, Uncle Scott, if you could go back to um a younger version of you. So like if you're talking to, like you said, the guy from the Midwest whose family doesn't really show emotions, who, is in part of this family business that you kind of like always saw yourself doing that and not anything different. And that person, that guy is either hesitant or zero desire to try yoga. What what sort of like encouragement would you give to your younger self or to that person to get them to try to eventually step into a restorative practice and cry in public?
That's a good one. Look, now that I'm such a late bloomer in life and a lot of different things, from yoga practice to drinking my first beer when I was 50. But when you talk about yoga and you talk about me winding the clock back and knowing what it's done for me um, emotionally as well as physically, I'm still trying to get there where I feel that I want to be. But if I'd have known what I know now in this short of time, 20, 40 years ago, because I know yoga's been around for a long time, I would be, well, I may not be in the same place I am now, to be honest with you, because it might have led me other places and to do other things and experience other things instead of just living life with the blinders on, if you will, that I was navigating because it was a family business type of thing, right? And it has nothing to do with the family business or anything of that nature, because the family business hasn't been around for 17 years. So, but I'm still in the business, right? So, what it has to do with is being in touch with your authentic self, and for the first time, trying to live it. And I'm wondering who I would have been in my 20s, like you two are, and exploring this from a young age compared to just getting started at 60. So it's a matter to me of just do it and just take that chance. But more importantly, you got to give it a chance if you want to get out of it what I believe is meant to be in yoga. It's not, it's not a one-on-one basketball game. It's nothing like that. And most, I'm painting with a broad brush, but most guys are used to, you get on the other side of the net or take me on here. It's a one-on-one competition. Who's going to win? This is not that, but to be physically able and capable and with me, I even sleep better after I've done a yoga practice than I do if I've missed one. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's doing something for me. It's not like I drank any more tequila that night or had double, 2 scotches or anything of that nature. It's just whatever it does for me takes it through my day, and I sleep better at night too. This isn't a commercial for, join a yoga practice tomorrow afternoon, but if you get a chance to do it, I truly believe it really, you have to be mentally able to invest and listen and be present and allow yourself to just be authentic to you and not having to prove anything to May or Montana or Presley. Just do you. That's hard. That's
Mhm.
a
It is
hard
hard.
thing.
I didn't have this earlier on in my life either. I didn't really get, I didn't, so I'm 41, and I started doing this in my mid 30s, and I became a yoga teacher in my late 30s. And I think the same thing as you. I wish I could have started it so much sooner. It would have changed so many things. And then I also think, well, if it would have changed all those things, my life would be different now. And I don't want my life to be different now. So there's that. But like, I fully agree where I have finally, I went my whole life, and obviously it wasn't a bad life. I enjoyed it, but this has
Right.
brought me a level of being free to be myself that I've never really had before. And it's hard to explain. And I don't really think anybody understands it until it happens to them, like you kind of just described. Um, so yeah, like I would love to have made this a habit so early, so much earlier on. But again, it would have changed things. And I don't want my life to be different now. However, if you are listening, if you are that person who's not sure, um, start it immediately. It's not a commercial, but it's true. And we're all 3 people here in different parts of our lives, and we've all had the same exact experiences where it changed us in a way that like we can't really explain, but we know that we're better. We know that we feel more like ourselves, and we're more um free to be ourselves. Or I mean, not to speak for everybody, but it sounds like that's the vibe here. And that's kind of it's like a magical thing that until you experience it, you don't really even know you're not living that way. And like you said, being in touch with, even being able to cry, or not being so guarded, or even understanding what you're feeling in the moment that you're feeling it, instead of ignoring it and having it turn into something like being angry for no reason when you're driving your car. It's just a whole lot of understanding the layers that you have like hidden, and then they don't come up in uglier ways, because instead of you telling someone to fuck off, you're crying on a restorative yoga mat. And it's like, that's going to make the world essentially a little bit more of a peaceful place if we're all crying on a yoga mat than fucking losing our shit on some stranger in a public place. So there we go.
Hey, amen to that. Preach, girl.
The juice, the juice. So that's a perfect segue to our last question, Uncle Scott, which you kind of already answered, but do you think yoga can change the world? Yes or no, and why?
So I've been listening to your juice questions through the majority of your podcasts, and we're also mixing in a cracking the pepper on a salad too, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of a cracked pepper moment or a juice moment. So, and that's for you, May, right? You're the big cracked pepper. I think I think I first heard it from you. So, um, mine's gonna be I'll answer it this way. I think it can help for sure. And it's not because I've listened to your last two or three where someone says no and someone says maybe. It's just that was my answer when you asked me how many months ago did you ask me to get on this podcast, where I actually wrote some notes down.
I think
And
February,
so
April.
I always thought that it can help. And I'll tell you what I think my kind of juice moment is, and I don't even know if it's a moment that is relatable or not, but one of the most important people in my life shared some words with me that I actually listened to. Not only listened to them, but heard them. And as I was driving home, I realized I could not get these words out of my head. And about 2 weeks later, I got them tattooed on my forearm or my inner arm. And those words were, he said, Ritter, in this life, you get what you give. So I'll repeat it. In this life, you get what you give. And it hit so hard for me. Well, hard enough that I put it permanently on my arm. And I try to make it a daily mantra if I possibly can. And, throughout life, as well as this yoga journey, I cross paths with rock stars like you, Montana, Catherine, of course, Presley, Nikki, and May, even though you and I haven't really gotten to know each other a lot more today, which is great. So I'm going to throw you in the pot of these rock stars in my short yoga journey, that humans like you, real humans, are making a huge difference in this world, giving your gifts that you have decided to share with the world and anybody that wants to join you in, whether it's a walk or a yoga practice. And I believe those gifts that you are giving are coming tenfold back to you in ways that are molding you, shaping you, and helping you on your journey. So that you get what you give in this life really has hit home for me and is my juice moment. And I don't know if that's the kind of juice moment you're looking for, but you guys are shining bright right now in what I've witnessed and experienced and listening to your podcast and meeting you guys in person. You're special human beings that are doing real good things for not only your own life that you may or may not be able to see and feel, but you're doing so many good things for other people that are knocking your door down to be a part of what you're giving. So that's my juice moment and my crack my pepper on my salad moment, if you allow me.
I actually got a little teary-eyed
Me
there.
too.
Jeez. That was the juice.
Uncle Scott's like, you don't want me on. I don't have anything good to say. Meanwhile, you just like dropped so many beautiful tidbits of knowledge for the past hour. So, and I knew that was going to happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't have asked you to be on, but it's mutual. Like you don't understand how much you shining your light is clear and evident and gives everyone else permission to do so, especially like big bunny ear quote, like guys like you. Like I think of, my real uncles, ha ha ha, who would never step on a yoga mat because it's just not what they would do. But to like have someone like yourself be like, oh, well, I tried it because I, felt inspired by my niece, like Catherine, to where now it's cultivating your life in ways that you probably wouldn't have imagined until it started doing it, until you experienced it on your own. And that's like no small thing. I mean, I could even relate it back to my husband. He came and took my yoga class for the first time in almost 3 years a few weeks ago because I forced him. And he like even remembered then, he's like, man, like, why did I stop doing this? And I was like, because you're a dude and you feel like all you need to focus on is like work and providing and shit at the house and blah, 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 and all those things that like do bring you joy and that are important, but it's not everything. Like, and the yoga practice reminds him like it wasn't just the yoga. It was like afterward, he's like, let's go to dinner together. Like, you know, and then he said the same thing. He's like, man, I slept like a baby. And of course he's like making jokes about it too. He's like, I released so much. Ha, ha, because I was teaching the CG method. He's like, I let go of so much baggage, Montana. And I'm like, you're kidding, but
I love
I know
But it's
you're not.
true.
That's great.
So yeah, it's mutual. Well, that's time. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that I finally didn't fuck it up and actually met you at the right time on the right day. Um, yeah, thank you so much. Is there
I'm glad it
And I
anything
worked
look
out for all
forward
of
else?
us.
to meeting you at one of the retreats someday.
You
Ooh,
have my
I'm gonna
word.
be
We will
there.
definitely connect. We will definitely
last
I'm
connect
thing
for
gonna
that
be
I'll
sure.
there.
say is Uncle Scott and I got matching tattoos from a card that Nicole Barley, mine's right here.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
The butterfly.
Ah. Oh, is
I
that the
need to,
butterfly?
yeah, the
Transforma
butterfly
transformation.
transformation.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he
Fuck
got it done in
yeah.
Pittsburgh and
I've
Ellie did it for him. Or Illy, sorry,
I've
Illy.
gotten 3 tattoos from events like that. My first one, which I'm sorry to waste any more time, but
No.
was
No.
from a friend of Catherine's that Catherine doesn't even speak to anymore. When this has been, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 or 10 years ago. Back here, I've got this tattoo that's in an LA script that says "Embrace Today." That was on a I don't know, it was a college friend or a work friend that was in yoga, I think, and had this very, very just real pretty "Embrace Today," but mine's just big back here on my back left side. And then of course my juice moment, which is so important to me.
Hmm.
And then having the cards pulled, and that was a whole nother, part of the retreat that I was watching the cards being pulled for a day and still wasn't ready for any of that to throw myself into the way I was watching people throw themselves into it. I was like, I'm not mentally ready. So I waited a day or two before I did that. But man, oh man, was it worth it. It was worth it. So
And also just
So
get to let Nicole
special.
talk to you for a little while because her voice is like the voice of an angel.
Hmm.
yeah, 1,000%. Completely agree. Yep. Charm Shop is a special one for sure.
Yeah, she is
Agreed.
definitely.
She is a butterfly.
Yeah, straight up
Well,
butterfly.
you two are the best for even wanting to add me to the long list of real professional yogis but I've enjoyed your podcast. Keep it up. I hope it continues to grow for you and do
Thank you.
whatever you're trying to get out of it. But I got a ton out of this.
Us
Good.
too.
You are
I
a real yogi, by the way. You are
I
a real
I
yogi.
don't know
Yes,
about
you
that,
are.
but I
You
appreciate the
are.
connection deeply. I truly
You know,
do.
it's funny. You're living the yoga more than a lot of people who would
Yeah.
consider themselves a real advanced yogi. So you are living the yoga. It's not just doing the poses. You're doing all the things that the yogis do the right way. So
To the
keep on
point where
keeping on.
before my 2 o'clock Teams call with a client out in Denver, I am going to journal a little bit about this moment.
I
Good.
freaking love
So
you.
That's
I love you
amazing.
Hey.
too.
All right, you guys.
You're awesome.
Namaste. Uncle Scott, thank you. May, thank you. I
Namaste.
love
See
you
ya.
both.
Thanks,
Every
May.
man listening, be more like Uncle Scott.
Yeah, let's watch this episode skyrocket to the top with Catherine
Oh
and
yeah.
Nikki's.
Let's hope so.
All right.
Thanks
Thanks, you
again.
guys. See you
See you
later.
Bye.
soon.
Thank you.
Bye.